New evidence on the mysterious Dyatlov Pass incident has recently been revealed, and it challenges the widely accepted avalanche explanation about the terrifying deaths of the explorers. According to these speculations, the avalanche never happened. This claim casts a major question on what actually happened that awful night that took 9 lives. Join us as we explore this new perspective and delve deeper into the bone-chilling case of the Dyatlov Pass incident. The Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, Igor Dyatlov led a group of 10 explorers on a hazardous skiing journey over the Soviet Union's northern Ural Mountains. Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute, gathered a group of fellow university students and peers for the ambitious voyage. The group's goal was not simply recreational, it was a mission to achieve Grade 3 accreditation, the highest level for Soviet hikers, which required a 300-kilometer walk across difficult terrain. The squad was well prepared and experienced, with each member possessing Grade 2 hiking certificates and ski trip experience. On January 25, 1959, they left Sverdlovsk with all of the equipment and provisions they would need for their adventure. However, fate had different plans for them. Shortly into their tour, one member, Yuri Yudin, became ill with rheumatism and a congenital heart condition, causing him to return home on January 28. Little did he know that this decision would eventually save his life. Undeterred by Yudin's departure, the remaining 9 comrades continued on their journey, aiming to conquer the northern Urals. They made their way through the rugged country, braving harsh weather and difficult terrain. On January 31st, they arrived at a valley leading to Dyatlov Pass, where they prepared for their ascent. However, their intentions were derailed by a strong snowstorm, which forced them off their chosen path and into the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, also known as Dead Mountain in the local language. Despite the harsh weather, the crew persevered, possibly motivated by their desire to achieve their goal. As night struck, they made camp on the mountain's exposed slopes, enduring temperatures below -40 degrees. Exhausted and shivering, they huddled in their common tent, seeking cover from the biting chill. What occurred next remains a mystery. Details of what happened over the next 2 days are scant, gleaned from camp journals and subsequent inquiries. The group missed a scheduled rendezvous, which concerned their families and authorities. On February 26th, search crews located the group's abandoned and damaged tent on Kholat Syakhl. The image was perplexing, with the tent half torn down and blanketed with snow. All of the group's belongings and shoes were missing, and the tent exhibited signs of internal cutting, indicating a hasty escape. Following the group's travels, searchers discovered the bodies of some members dispersed across the mountain slopes. Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin were found in positions that suggested they were attempting to return to the tent. More victims were recovered more than 2 months later, buried beneath several meters of snow in a gully deeper than the pine tree near their campground. The study into the Dyatlov Pass tragedy has inspired a slew of ideas, ranging from natural causes like an avalanche to more sinister explanations, such as military involvement or even paranormal phenomena. Despite considerable efforts to find the truth, the exact circumstances of the catastrophe remain unknown, making the Dyatlov Pass incident one of the most lasting mysteries of the 20th century. The investigation and aftermath. The Dyatlov Pass incident may be one of the most mysterious events in recent history. Igor Dyatlov led a group of 9 excellent hikers into Soviet Russia's Ural Mountains, but they never returned. Their murder inquiry uncovered a string of unexplained episodes that have piqued interest for decades. When the hikers failed to return on time, the search began. Rescuers discovered their severely damaged tent. In addition to being partially collapsed and coated with snow, the tent was ripped apart from the inside. The trekkers looked to have fled in panic. The tent included arranged shoes, clothing, equipment, and partially cooked food. The group appeared to have been abruptly interrupted. The first 2 bodies, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonashenko, were discovered 300 meters from the tent, near a small fire. Both were dressed in underwear, which is unusual given the -25 degrees to -30 degrees temperature. Krivonashenko had burns and a chunk of flesh in his mouth, indicating that he bit off his hand in pain or despair. Both died of hypothermia, according to medical testing. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin were discovered dead near the tent a few days later. Dyatlov and Kolmogorova died while attempting to return to the tent. Slobodin, like the others, died from hypothermia following a minor skull fracture. The bodies' locations indicated that they were lost and had difficulty returning to camp. The mystery worsened when the last 4 trekkers were discovered in May. After the snow had gone, the victims were discovered in a valley, covered in several feet of snow. The hikers' medical evaluations revealed rare and substantial injuries. Nikolai Thibault Brignol's skull was shattered severely. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov suffered devastating chest fractures from the force of an automobile crash. There were no obvious wounds connected with these fractures, indicating high pressure. Dubinina lacked tongue, eyes, lips, and facial tissue. Zolotaryov and Kolovatov lacked brows and eyes. According to V.A. Vozrojdeny, a forensic specialist, these injuries were most likely sustained post-mortem due to the bodies being in a swift stream. According to the official investigation, 6 hikers died from exposure to the cold and 3 from deadly injuries. There was no indication that others caused their deaths. There was no fighting, simply the sound of hikers' footfalls. Investigators were further perplexed by the tent interior and hikers' belongings. The indigenous Mansi tribe may have attacked the group for encroaching on their territory. This notion was swiftly disregarded due to a lack of proof. The lack of defensive wounds or evidence of a struggle, as well as distinctive fragments, made this hypothesis dubious. The wild animal assault was considered. However, the lack of physical injuries ruled it out. Hikers' clothing included radioactive contamination, which was unusual. Some of the possibilities included a secret Soviet military experiment or a nuclear disaster. Several hikers helped clean up after the 1957 Kyshtym nuclear incident. It was unclear why the garments had such high radioactivity, and the possibility of a failed weapons test persisted. The Dyatlov Pass incident's peculiar circumstances have fueled discussion. The most odd theories include Yeti attacks, KGB clandestine activities, and otherworldly involvement. Witnesses reported odd lights in the sky, prompting concerns about UFOs or parachute mine military training. The case's principal investigator, Lev Ivanov, said his team witnessed flying spheres, but was told to disregard the claims. Anatoly Gushin's 1990 book, The Price of State Secrets is 9 Lives, reopened the investigation. The hikers may have been the victims of a Soviet secret weapon experiment, according to the book. Despite criticism for relying on guesswork, the book drew attention to the case and prompted several previously silent witnesses to come forward with new information. The Dyatlov Foundation was established in 1999 to further the inquiry and preserve the hikers' memories. Yuri Kuntsevich, with assistance from Ural State Technical University, led the effort to collect and analyze all incident data. The charity's Dyatlov Museum houses case-related items and documentation. Journalists discovered Semyon Zolotaryov's remains in 2018 for research. Some specialists claimed car-related injuries, but DNA tests revealed no surviving relatives. Zolotaryov's name was not on the Ivanovo cemetery list, which added to the uncertainty. Despite these findings, Zolotaryov's facial reconstruction matched post-war photographs, implying he was buried there, albeit his identity remains unclear. In 2019, Russian officials renewed their inquiry, focusing on avalanches, slab avalanches, and hurricanes. No criminal action was possible, however. The fresh examination was inconclusive because the tent traces were evident and there was no snowslide. Some experts did not believe an avalanche caused it. According to one current interpretation, the hikers were murdered during a failed Soviet ballistic missile test. In 2023, new data showed that a failed rocket launch resulted in a nitric acid cloud. According to this explanation, toxic fog induced perplexity and dread, forcing the hikers to flee their tent and perish in the bitter cold. No single theory explains the Dyatlov Pass incident's strange details. These 9 hikers' deaths continue to perplex and inspire researchers, prompting further investigation. This case is one of the most intriguing and terribly unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, thanks to the serious injuries, strange radiation, and lack of human intervention. The avalanche theory. In July 2020, Andrei Kuryakov, deputy chief of the prosecutor general's office, stated that the Dyatlov gang was killed by an avalanche. According to independent assessments and computer simulations by Swiss experts, an avalanche was most likely to blame for the disaster. The discovery clarified the strange events of that awful night. Kuryakov recommended justifying the Dyatlov party's strange actions in light of the impending avalanche. Experienced mountaineers facing a similar threat may behave similarly. The group's unexpected choice to abandon their tent, seek shelter in the woods, start a fire, and construct a snow tunnel followed avalanche emergency procedures. Their knowledge and avalanche awareness may have killed them. Benjamin Radford, an American skeptic, also dismissed Yeti beliefs, claiming that the Dyatlov Pass occurrences were caused by an avalanche. Radford believed the party awoke in a panic due to an avalanche blocking the tent door or the threat of one. Despite being unprepared for the cold, they fled to the woods to regroup and start a fire. Their garments from the tent were lost to the elements before they could retrieve them. These hypotheses are compelling, yet the avalanche theory is inconsistent. This view is called into question by the absence of avalanche activity indicators, as well as snow disturbances or debris. Numerous expeditions to the site following the tragedy revealed no avalanche conditions. Detailed topographical and slope calculations refuted the avalanche theory, noting that the topography would have diverted any landslide away from the tent. The tent collapsed sideways, contradicting avalanche patterns. The group's moves into the woods demonstrated no fear, indicating a more orderly escape. Between 2015 and 2019, veteran detectives from the Investigative Committee of the Russian Federation evaluated the first inquiry findings and added critical data to corroborate the avalanche scenario. Hurricane-force winds, heavy snowfall, and temperatures as low as -40 degrees may have contributed to the group's unfortunate acts, according to these investigators. Despite these disclosures, questions and new theories remain. Russian officials investigated the 2019 Dyatlov Pass catastrophe and blamed it on a slab avalanche. Further research and mathematical simulations conducted by Swiss scientists in 2021 backed this theory, claiming that a tiny snow slab fall on the Kolotsiakal Hill caused damage and injuries. The avalanche theory is the most widely accepted explanation for the Dyatlov Pass disaster. However, the exact circumstances are unknown. The ongoing investigation and scientific investigations aim to answer the mystery, provide closure to the families, and honor the brave adventurers who died that night. Other theories. In 2019, a Swedish-Russian expedition reached the Dyatlov Pass. A powerful katabatic wind was proposed as the cause of the horrible occurrences. Katabatic winds are rare but deadly. These winds killed 8 hikers and badly injured one during the 1978 Anaris Mountain tragedy in Sweden. The terrain of Anaris Mountain and the Dyatlov Pass is similar, which lends credence to the theory that both disasters were caused by katabatic winds. In the sudden katabatic wind above the Dyatlov Pass, hikers would have battled to stay in their tents. The best course of action would have been to cover the tent with snow to keep it from blowing away, and then shelter behind the trees. The hikers left a flashlight on top of the tent, maybe to help them find their way back when the gust hit. The expedition recommended building 2 bivouac shelters. However, one shelter collapsed, burying 4 hikers and inflicting horrific damage. Donnie Icar used the infrasound concept in his 2013 book, Dead Mountain. According to this idea, wind over the Kolotsiakal Mountain generates a katabatic vortex, which can generate infrasound and inspire dread. According to Icar, the wind's infrasound caused the trekkers physical and mental suffering, prompting the group to flee their tent in panic. They may have calmed down after descending the slope and leaving the infrasound behind. The shadows prevented them from returning to their tent. 3 people were critically hurt after tumbling down a dark gorge and striking rocks. 3 possibilities include military testing. The campground could have been in the area of a Soviet parachute mine exercise. In this scenario, powerful explosions scared the hikers, who fled their tents without sufficient equipment. While surviving the bombardment, several group members died of hypothermia, while others who stole the deceased's clothing were killed by parachute mine explosions. Parachute mines detonate in flight, causing catastrophic inside injuries but little external damage, similar to hikers. These assertions are reinforced by accounts of orange orbs in the sky near the scene, which could have been military aircraft or parachute mines. The loss of Dubinina's tongue may have been caused by scavenging animals. Livor mortis, scars, and hair and skin burns indicate that the remains were altered after death. Most experienced hikers would not set up their tents incorrectly as depicted in the images. Some things had radioactivity, and relatives reported the deceased as having an orange complexion and gray hair, indicating that radiological weapons were being tested in the area. The radioactive spread would have impacted all hikers and their gear. Mummification, which occurs naturally after 3 months of cold and wind, most likely caused the discoloration. The initial suppression of materials by Soviet officials implies a cover-up, which was common. In the late 1980s, all Dyatlov data was made public. Paradoxical undressing, a hypothermia-induced behavior in which people remove their clothes in response to intense warmth, could potentially explain part of the mystery. 6 of the 9 trekkers perished of hypothermia, but several put on extra clothing to keep warm. This explanation cannot explain the widespread injuries to several bodies. Yuri Kuntsevich of the Dyatlov Foundation and Keith McCloskey, a Dyatlov Pass expert, visited the site in 2015. McCloskey discovered differences in the distance between 2 prospective snow shelter places where some hikers were identified. One place was 80 to 100 meters from the tree where Doroshenko and Krivonishenko's bodies had been discovered. The other recommended location was close enough to the tree that snow shelter dwellers might converse without shouting. Images from the 1959 search indicate that the second location, which includes the boulder in the creek where Dubinina's body was discovered, is more likely. The Tense Ridge site was too close to the spur for major snow accumulation, which could result in an avalanche. The ridge wind would have driven snow away from the edge, lowering the avalanche risk. Sergei Sogrin noted the ridge summit's lack of snow in 2010. In a 2015 interview, Evgeny Okashev, Lev Ivanov's employer, stated that he planned another journey to the pass to examine the mysterious deaths of the remaining 4 victims. According to McCloskey, after returning from Moscow, Deputy Prosecutor General Ustinov concluded the case. Okashev also noticed that Klinov, the chief of the Sverdlovsk prosecutor's office, spent 3 days at the initial post-mortems, which he thought was unusual. After analyzing the situation and filming a documentary, ICAR investigated various other ideas that were rejected. These included an attack by Mansi or other local tribes, but the Mansi were peaceful and did not approach the tent. Another debunked argument is that the group was attacked by wildlife. However, there were no animal tracks, and they would not have left the tent. The theory that heavy winds drove one person to flee, while others attempted to rescue them, is likewise doubtful, as the tent would have blown away. The group was peaceful, with only platonic flirtation and crushes, so a quarrel that escalated into violence was unlikely. The site had no narcotics, and only a little flask of medicinal alcohol, which was undamaged. One body sustained severe injuries that could not have been produced by combat. Each hypothesis contributes to our understanding of what happened to the 9 hikers, but none is definitive. New facts and speculations keep experts and the general public interested in solving the mystery. The new evidence. The Dyatlov Pass disaster has been a mystery for decades. Some recent research provides a scientific explanation for what happened to the 9 hikers. A 2019 federal Russian inquiry and a 2021 investigation believe the hikers were killed by a slab avalanche, which occurs when a big block of snow breaks free from a deeper layer and travels downhill. The slab avalanche theory was previously questioned for a variety of reasons. Critics pointed to the site's lower-than-average slope angle, lack of avalanche signs, uncertainty about what caused the avalanche, and unusual victim injuries. However, Swiss scientists Johann Gaume and Alexander Puzrin's 2021 Communications Earth and Environment study backed this view. Gaume and Puzrin speculated that a slab avalanche may have caused the disaster, even though a normal one did not. They hypothesized that wind may have accumulated snow on the slope near the hiker's tent, resulting in a slab avalanche. This would necessitate irregular topography, a slope cut to set up the tent, and strong katabatic winds to deposit snow. These factors may have caused a slab of snow to fall on the sleeping trekkers, resulting in significant but non-fatal injuries. According to autopsy results, many hikers had major thoracic and head injuries similar to those sustained by car accident victims. This lends credence to the theory that a snowstorm while they were sleeping could have been traumatic. The hikers would have fled their tents in fright following the avalanche. This could explain why their bodies were discovered undressed and damaged. The majority of trekkers died from hypothermia as a result of the extreme weather and insufficient attire. Gaume and Puzrin tested their theory by simulating the event with weather reports. The simulation depicted how a slab avalanche would have affected hikers. The severe injuries noted in autopsies could have been caused by the snowfall, as they were most likely lying flat on their backs. This explanation does not explain everything about the Dyatlov Pass catastrophe, such as why one hiker was missing her tongue, which may have been caused by scavenging animals, but it does provide a scientific contrast to many of the more extreme conspiracy claims. Gomes stated that they did not solve the mystery, but rather established the soundness of the avalanche idea. The study covers the results of the winter and summer 2021 expeditions, as well as modeling. These expeditions disproved the notion that Dyatlov Pass slopes were too flat for avalanche avalanches. The summer journey revealed meter-scale natural step-like dips that can lead to slab avalanches. These elements may have misled the experienced group into believing their camp was safe. According to the researchers, the slopes of these step-like falls exceed 28 degrees, with several being steeper than 30 degrees. The tent was most likely erected below one of these continuous slopes. The 2021 winter expedition discovered slab avalanches a few miles from Dyatlov Pass. On another trip in January 2022, discovered two skilled mountain guides in low visibility, and heavy winds flipped their snowmobiles, similar to the 1959 accident. The guides discovered two snow slab avalanches, which vanished within an hour of the snowstorm. The Dyatlov rescue crew discovered no signs of an avalanche 3 weeks after the incident and had never seen one there before, since severe weather makes the pass difficult to access, and tiny slab avalanches disappear quickly. The new analysis verifies previous models and provides specifics on the hikers' deaths. Although Puzrin and Gaum do not claim to have solved the mystery, their research does offer a reasonable explanation for Dyatlov Pass. They stated that, while the litigation is ongoing, their role has ended. The snow slab or the avalanche idea is less spectacular than others, yet it comforts victims' families. It provides a plausible explanation for the catastrophe, albeit significant ambiguities remain. Russian authorities have promised to use sophisticated forensics and analysis to gather more information about the incident. Gaum and Puzrin examined the data and determined that the campsite is slightly inclined. It was actually 30 degrees, making it avalanche-prone. Earlier investigators believed the snow slope was gentler due to the area's undulating terrain and snowfall. The hikers' tent ditch could have destabilized the snow slab above them. According to hikers' notes, heavy winds may have contributed to the avalanche. Although the snow slab created fright and disaster for the trekkers, the hikers' bedding was on skis, and the rushing snow and hard, inflexible material may have resulted in terrible injuries. Hikers apparently attempted to help one another, but the cold and lack of equipment killed them. The snow slab avalanche idea isn't as fascinating as a government plot or murderous yetis, but it does provide solace to bereaved families. The case is still open, but the new research offers a strong description and a probable explanation for the hikers' deaths. New information could finally resolve the Dyatlov Pass mystery, which has gripped the public for decades. Regardless of conspiracy theories, Gaum and Puzrin's scientific explanation of the tragedy is credible and reasonable. Russia and Teodora Hajiska's theory. In February 2019, Russian officials revived the Dyatlov Pass incident, a mystery and tragedy. This decision was made after years of pressure from families, the media, and the general public, all of whom believed the incident had been covered up. Over 75 hypotheses and assumptions have been proposed regarding the Dyatlov Pass incident. These include extraterrestrial abductions, abominable snowmen, radioactive fallout from covert weapons testing, and indigenous peoples' conflicts. The 2019 investigation centered primarily on three natural phenomenon theories: avalanche, snow slab, and hurricane. There was no evidence of criminal behavior, according to officials. A 400-page dossier of original case documents and materials was presented during a news conference to support their investigation, revealing the renewed effort to discover the truth. Peter Bartolome, a friend of hiker Igor Dyatlov, who died in the incident, attended the news conference and expressed his support for the investigation. He commended Dyatlov as a skilled and trustworthy individual and supported the continued investigation into what happened to the hikers that night. Comprehending Soviet society at the time of the incident is critical for understanding the investigation. In the totalitarian Soviet Union, flaws were frequently concealed to avoid punishment. Citizens were aware that acknowledging wrongdoing might lead to jail time, torture, or death. In such circumstances, the government needed to show ultimate power and perfection. Teodora Hajiska, the founder of Dyatlovpass.com, has conducted considerable study on the incident. She meticulously translated Russian files into English and created a database containing all case photographs, evidence, and theories. Her efforts made her a tragedy expert. Hajiska offers an alternative interpretation of what occurred on the frozen mountain. After conducting a comprehensive evidence analysis, she believes the hikers were murdered. According to Hajiska, the hikers were horrified and hurriedly fled their tent. She claims they were confronted by armed individuals, sparking a brief brawl. After being forced to march to a tree line, the hikers died from the elements. According to Hajiska, the murderers may have assumed the hikers would perish in the cold, but some lit a bonfire and informed them. This prompted the invaders to return and finish the job, including those who had left the fire to construct a snow den. Hajiska stated that the event lasted hours and involved numerous attacks and escalation. The harsh alpine circumstances surely created confusion and panic among the trekkers and their attackers. Hajiska's theory poses numerous issues, yet it explains the hikers' unusual behavior and deaths. She and other researchers are trying to answer the Dyatlov Pass incident, which is one of the 20th century's most perplexing mysteries.